Welcome to the Army Painter Academy, our series of helpful video and graphic tutorials that you can find on your preferred social channels and on our blog at thearmypainter.com. Now at the Army Painter, we have smart paint systems designed to help make painting easy, fun, and fast, no matter your skill level or technique of choice. In this edition of the Academy, we're going to teach you 3 ways to paint yellow armor using the speed painting method, a traditional layered method with the Warpaints Fanatic range, and the airbrushing method with our airbrush ready Warpaints air range. We're going to be using a Terminator Space Marine from Games Workshop's popular Warhammer 40,000 range. So these recipes would be fit for an Imperial Fist or even a Lamentor if you want to add some checkers from the lore. Starting with the speed painting method, we're going to begin with color primer Brain Matter Beige. Speed paints are designed to be applied over light colors or zenithal primed base coats. Using matte white will give you a brighter, more vibrant finish, where ash gray will help to desaturate your speed paint of choice. Brain Matter Beige works really well for warmer tones like we're applying here. With a large brush like our Wargamer Regiment or Monster brush, apply a liberal coat of your speed paint of choice. We're using Zealot Yellow, which is a stronger yellow that has a bit of an orange tint to it. For a more subdued yellow, try Maize Yellow or Ancient Honey. Now you can see what I mean about it being an orange yellow right out of the bottle. Don't worry, like common Easter egg dye, this will dry a nice yellow once applied to the surface of your miniature. We recommend focusing on areas like the boots first before moving up to the legs, torso, and arms. This will allow you time to focus on that area before the speed paint dries to ensure smooth, even coverage without any of the paint overpooling in any of the details. It's called speed paint for a reason, and one coat is all it takes to achieve this vibrant coverage and instant shading. If you're using speed paint as a base color, you're ready to begin chipping or highlighting away. The traditional method requires a base coat of acrylic paint. We're going to begin with a neutral primer of uniform gray to show off the insane coverage properties and smooth performance of the Warpaints Fanatic range. Now, if you want to save a step, try priming in color primer Demonic Yellow, which is a color match to the Warpaints Fanatic color of the same name. Start by thinning your Demigod Flames paint with just a bit of clean water and use a regiment brush to apply a smooth coat all over the armor of the Mini. To achieve the smoothest coverage, we recommend applying a second thin coat to really make that yellow punch. Once your base coats are complete, apply a shade to the model using Orange Tone Wash. These specially designed transparent paints are designed to add depth and contrast to your miniature, as the pigments are designed to flow over the raised areas and into the recesses. We're applying this in a more focused manner directly into the details to preserve as much of our base color as possible here. For a more desaturated yellow, you can use strong or soft tones or even light or sepia tones, depending on the final yellow that you're attempting to achieve. We always recommend having a play around with a test model before beginning any new project or army. Now, if you overdo it with the wash at any point in this stage, you can simply tidy up any of the mistakes once it's dried using your previous colors. Warpaints Fanatic was developed in a clever flexible color triad system, which makes it easy to add volume and detail to your miniatures, as each color is designed to work in progression. For example, we'll apply a layered highlight of Fiendish Yellow to the raised areas and blend this towards where we want the highlights to be, towards the top panels of the armor. You can also use this color to apply your first edge highlights. Now here's a tip for blending glazing and layered highlights. Pull or push your paint into the direction that you want the highlight to be more vibrant, as the brush distributes more pigment at the end of each brushstroke. Moving on, we will apply a more refined application of Demonic Yellow to the raised areas and details. Now, with a bit of Ice Yellow and some of the Warpaints Retarder mixed in to add some precision and control of this very bright color, we'll apply a hard edge highlight to the sharpest details. In many cases, you can utilize the edge of your brush to trace your highlight on. Be as neat as you can, but don't stress too much. Once again, if you do paint outside the lines, you can always clean it up with your previous colors. We're only using 4 colors from the yellow flexible triad, which is more than enough for most tabletop ready paint jobs, but if you want even more subtle blends, you can put the other 2 colors from the triad to work. Now on to our final method for painting yellow armor, this time with the Warpaints air range. If you're new to airbrushing, you'll love how easy to use these paints are. Unlike other so-called airbrush paints, ours are ready to use right from the bottle. We offer some great airbrush primers, but to save even more time, our 2-in-1 color primers work fantastically. We'll use color primer Fur Brown as a starting point here. Of course, you could use Demonic Yellow. However, with the airbrush method, it's helpful to have a darker base coat as you apply your zenithal layers later. The first of which being Incursion Orange, the base color from this traditional air triad. The air range was developed in triads as well, making them perfectly suited for the way most wargamers use an airbrush. So next we'll apply a highlight with Demonic Yellow in a top-down zenithal fashion, leaving some of the Fur Brown and Incursion Orange in the shadows. We're moving on to Imp Yellow from the same triad for a more refined application, leaving some of the previous colors in the shadows once again. Be as sparing as you can with this application. We'll use Orange Tone Wash to add some contrast and shading to the miniature. We'll apply this precisely into the crevices and details to protect all of our airbrushed gradient work in the previous stages. Once dry, you can continue to apply layered or edge highlights, but there's more than one way to add detail to your miniature. We're using a sponge tip chipping brush here and some Ice Yellow from the Warpaints Fanatic range to add some textured weathering and detail to the miniature. The contrast of smooth volume and rough edges makes for a quick yet very effective finished effect. There you have it, 3 ways to paint yellow armor. You can utilize these steps for armor, robes, heraldry, or even monstrous scales. Subscribe for more from the Army Painter Academy and learn more about the products used in today's tutorial at your friendly local game store, preferred online retailer, or when you visit us at thearmypainter.com.